And without further ado, let's introduce these champions spawning down here in the bottom left position of Atmosphere 2000. Give it up for the Shopify Rebellions, BYUN. And his opponent, the sneaky Taiwanese legend with an endless supply of tricks up his sleeve. Give it up for HAS. Now 2,000 atmospheres below the sea. This is one of the newest maps in the pool, and I am very excited to see how this one plays out in the TVP matchup. Now, obviously, these guys, they are known for being aggressive. HAS, he's got, like I said, a lot of different tricks up his sleeve in the way that he can be in your base very early on and kind of just deflecting you when you try and do a lot of the different moves that BYUN is known for. Obviously, BYUN is known as Micro Jackson, as the guy who will push and push and push. But in this one, there are a lot of different choke points where HAS can put up an effective defense in that way. Now, we already see that he's taking advantage of the fact that this is a bigger map, and getting down that Nexus before Cybernetics core, just barely slowing down any sort of tech. Yeah, honestly, you can say that's not the biggest of deals, but the little things in this matchup are super duper important, such as the fact that BYUN is going for the Marine once again, so he will not have any additional information out on the map for quite a bit of time. Now, the big question is will he follow this up with a more aggressive CC timing? Obviously, when the maps are kind of like this, when it is a little bit harder to push across, you can just drop down that third CC and maybe try and play it a little bit safe. You know, because once you hit a 3 base as a Terran player, it's just very, very difficult to keep up in terms of that production for the early game Protoss. But what we do see out of HAS is that Twilight Council going down, so that has a good potential to either be, one thing I've seen recently is kind of adapting the Adept opening to be a little bit more effective versus the Terran player trying kind of put them in a bad spot early on with a lot of Adepts. But instead, we're going to a HAS Classic. That's a Dark Shrine. And since BYUN does not have a Reaper, he does not have any information on the other side of the map. Oh, he's got to be very careful about his next couple of minutes. Already playing it very safe, knowing that HAS does this kind of stuff. He's getting the Starport to pump out a Viking, as well as getting the Widow Mines in position to snipe up any War Prisms that come across. Good start to the defense, but he's going to need some sort of detection very, very soon. I seriously feel like BYUN might be misreading this just a little bit with his build order. Just the fact that he's going for the Cyclone, it's like he's really trying to push the Stargate angle with this defense. Now, I don't hate it, but the fact that there's not going to be a Warp Prism, because he does have that pylon across the map for the Warpins, kind of makes it a little bit less effective, just overall. But I digress on that point because we do have the Widowmine out in front. The Marine, he will technically, quote-unquote, see these Dark Templar, but they will barely make it in. The wall is down, instantly throwing down that tech lab, but for right now, there are no scans available. Oh, yeah, he just dropped a bunch of fresh mules, so these Marines are absolutely going to go down. Now the SCVs are starting to follow. How much longer? Literally 4 seconds away as we have spawning up here in the top left position. Give it up for BYUN. And his opponent down here in the bottom, he is HAS. All right. So, kind of taking a look at this right now, it does look like this is going to be a standard opening for BYUN once again. We do have that gas first, going to be bringing him a little bit of a faster tech transition into that factory. And on Haas's side of the map, you know, Lightshade is much smaller, but there are a lot of very difficult to scout locations. Obviously, you do have a very narrow choke point right there in the middle, but if you drop a pylon down here, up here, without a Reaper, without some sort of very mobile detection from the Terran player, you're just not going to see that at any point. Even going to get the first Zealot out. That is interesting. I feel like he is going to be wanting to put on a little bit of pressure, which is good because he knows that there's more than likely not going to be a way for BYUN to kite efficiently without that first Reaper. Okay, we do have something I do indeed like, however. We've got the Marauder opening from BYUN. As we see, HAS is just going to be going for that Adept. He's got that out. The Stalker going to be joining in. So this is a very, very aggressive opening from him. But with concussive shells done, with 2 Marauders on the field, and with the additional racks going to be adding on here, I think BYUN is going to be completely okay with this situation, and you can kind of see HAS probably rubbing his temple a little bit, thinking, oh my goodness, can't believe that Marauder is out. And he's just going to go straight home, collect his units up, and hopefully just kind of try and push this back on the other side of the map. Now, HAS does have 3 worker lead, which is alright, but you can kind of see the tickle cannons not really doing a lot to the Marauders. A lot of those shields being brought down on the Zealots before going home. He will throw down the bunker just to stay safe. But this is going to open up the possibility for HAS to kind of just throw down a couple of more gateways. It looks like he might be wanting to go all in with this. Which I kind of understand because he did invest quite a bit into making this work. And so BYUN, all he has to do is hold on a little bit because he's not going to need to worry about a third base. He's just going to have to stop the Immortals. Once those die out, the pure gateway units, not going to be enough. And yeah, 3 additional gateways. The Warp Prism is on the way. Stim is just now starting. That's about 3 minutes away, but that is all right. He will have plenty of production to hold on. Looks like he does have the starport down, so Medivacs will be joining in the equation. And honestly, I don't really know if HAS is going to be able to make this work. It's just going to be a really dicey situation for him. As we do see the Marine going to get a pure good scout out. Sees all those additional gateways and instantly dropping down the bunker back at home. So basically what HAS needs to do right now is he needs to get some good force fields down on this bunker. Make sure that it cannot heal. Looks like some of those SCVs did get on top of it. They are now pulled. The Widowmine, an okay connection, taking out a lot of energy on those sentries. And it looks like HAS, unfortunately, again, just does not have enough to push his way through. Good focus fire on that Warp Prism. And GG is called. Spawning down here in the bottom, he is Micro Jackson himself. Give it up for the Shopify Rebellions. BYUN. And his opponent up here in the top position. He is tricky. He is sneaky. He is a champion in his own right. The King of Taiwan. Give it up for HAS. Who, by the way, I believe is still looking for a team. You know, he just lost his J team recently, I believe, back in August. So he is a free agent in this field. And honestly, with moves like this, I think he would be an excellent addition to any sort of lineup that you do have going on for you. With that gateway down, that is a very forward position for him to be able to warp in. And he should be... Looks like he's just going to drop down the Nexus here. So not necessarily the parting opening in general, but it's still good. I like it. It's going to force BYUN to be in a little bit of a bad spot because, again, no scouting at all. One thing to note, though, is BYUN does, or at least should, recognize the fact that that Nexus was at a certain timing. I don't think he's going to be a little bit... I don't think that's necessarily worrying in itself. But now that first Zealot is out, and there's only one Marine on the field. Oof. Now, this won't kill BYUN. That's almost for certain, because he can still pull a couple of SCVs, and with some good micro should be able to kind of hold on. But what he will do is he will lose the low ground expansion, so that will delay him quite heavily. Looks like the Zealot does not want to get caught in the main base either. But now he can kind of just dance around, kite around while BYUN's trying to get it in. But the SCV's just not really able to stay building forward long. Two SCVs already falling, a third to go as well. And again, kind of just trying to pull them back, buy himself a little bit of time. The Marines, though, now in a big enough number where he can kind of start to push this back. The bunker untouched during its entire build process. And now this rush is pretty much done for HAS. He can find a little angle right up here, but as that Marine count rises, you don't want to get caught there. So now comes the transition. Twilight Council for HAS. More than likely, he's just going to go for the blink opening, or the blink timing. And I mean, BYUN's going to get one of these Cyclones just in case it was a Stargate transition. But he should start pumping out the siege tanks very, very soon. And I do like the addition of the additional racks. I'm just going to make sure that he stays much, much safer. Because honestly, without Stim right now, you don't necessarily need a medevac. Okay, nice pick off there. A little bit late on the defense there is HAS. As those Marines jump into the bunker for safety. He's going to try and kind of dance around here, maybe get 1 or 2 kills. But BYUN will be able to deflect that. Overall, nice little pickoffs there for BYUN, as we do see HAS going to be going for that third base. So I kind of like how he's not over-committing to Blink. While he is getting a ton of additional gateways, he's currently on going up to his third and fourth. You know, he's just going to use that to stay defensive in case of a counterattack from BYUN, which, by the way, will be coming soon, as we do have Stim and +1. BYUN loves to hit when +1 finishes. So also getting the forges just so that he can stay equal in terms of those upgrades. Now, that's a good move because upgrades are very important in this matchup overall. But I worry that going for double upgrades right now versus kind of this expansive buildup from BYUN might leave him at a unit deficit that will be very difficult for him to overcome. He will have that additional income from this third base, which, by the way, BYUN does not have anywhere near starting. And, I mean, that's got to ring alarm bells in HAS's head right now. A fourth. I mean, okay. He's certainly not going to fall behind in terms of the macro game. That is for dang certain. But, yeah, there you go. BYUN's army is double that of HAS. That one stalker catching it before it moves across the map. Siege tanks, marauders, marines. This is a lethal combination here. Now HAS has to do everything he can to slow this down. Good pickup, going to save that siege tank. There are no SCVs with this. We do see a third base being dropped behind it, so you know, if it doesn't work completely, he's not going to be completely out of fish out of water. But the Zealots getting right on top of those siege tanks. The bio, though, is nowhere to be found. It's going to catch a lot of those stalkers and might even kill the base off if he so chooses. But right now, just kind of waiting for a little bit, seeing if that is the right call. But even though he lost the siege tanks, like, I still feel like HAS is very behind. And the reason I say that is because he had to warp in a ton of units in order to make that work, and BYUN hasn't really lost a lot of his army. He's still got 2 medevacs ready to fly around. He still has this army back at home to defend against counterattacks. And even though HAS is up in terms of that army overall supply, he's down in terms of that army supply. A good thing, though, for him, he saved this base. So if you take a look at that income advantage, not as big as it could be. And I think once that third base really just starts to get mining here, that will get lower and lower. But, yeah, still. Just overall, he's forced to keep a lot of his army here as well to defend against these drops. This is a lot of gateway, by the way. Alright, a big warp in the main base. The army does stim back home. SCVs, looks like he was trying to target those down. The Widowmine's not going to burrow for this fight. I kind of agree that that might be friendly fire damage. He loses the orbital command. And while I thought that HAS was behind before, now he is in a very commanding lead. With that snipe on the CC, that means BYUN has to get some damage done, and he has to do it now. Losing 11 SCVs. He's only has his +1 just about to finish up, while HAS is already halfway to +2. And now it's BYUN who has to keep those units home to defend. The Zealot being sacrificed just to keep that War Prism alive. Oh my goodness. At this point, I think he's got to pull the boys. Don't you guys think? Because the longer this game goes on, the worse it's going to be for him. And here we go. The army finds each other. A couple of good force fields going to try and keep some of the army awake. Pickups, though, will save a good majority of it. The Widowmine's cleaning up some of those Zealots, but there is still so much Protoss available. There are no Ghosts. There are no Siege Tanks to cover the flank, and there's not even really enough army to cover both sides, but he does get the Warp Prism. And now BYUN is shuffling for a defense, but losing that +2 attack. Seeing that there's no third base, HAS is full control of this game. The last valiant stand here by the Marines and the Marauders. But without the Widowmines, I think this is almost it for BYUN. HAS just made the perfect move there, getting the snipe on that third CC. And as the SCVs are pulled, the reinforcements coming in to finish the job. And there you have it. HAS takes the game, and he takes the series. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like, favorite, and subscribe if you want to see more amazing StarCraft 2 action. And we will see you all at the next big event.